the great Confucius once said that, quote, "Our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall," end quote. American sports icon Vince Lombardi put it succinctly thus: "The greatest accomplishment is not in never falling, but rising again after you fall," end quote. Despite conflicting reports about whether or not the fishing town of Baga in Borno State fell into the hands of Boko Haram insurgents, the Nigerian armed forces have retaken it. Apart from mounting relentless attacks to push back the insurgents in areas like Baga and Damasak, the military blocked some highways like the Maiduguri-Damaturu road to cut off further advances by the Boko Haram fighters. All we can do is wish them victory in this war to bring lasting peace to the area. A major boost for the military in its fight against insurgents, I must say, Ismail.
Yeah, I was elated when I heard the news. And I think just like the concluding part of your statement, we will always pray that it lasts. But having said that, I think the military, they must learn from the mistake of the past. I recall when we started celebrating our victory over Boko Haram, we always emphasize here that we should not go to sleep because these guys have not been, fully defeated, and that they can stage a comeback anytime. But unfortunately, it appears we were complacent, and the result was, what we saw. Having said that, I think going forward, the Nigerian Army and the Air Force, there must be more synergy in their work operations, because I find it very absurd to hear that when Army are they are carrying out the ground operations, sometimes they don't get the air support that is required. And most times when the air support comes, it's usually late. For example, like the Mitele attack, for instance, it was after our soldiers had been killed that, the Air Force, went to, launch the attack. I find it very disturbing that the president has demonstrated every genuine sincerity in ending this war against Boko Haram. And how do I mean? The chief of staff is from Borno. The national security advisor is from Borno. The chief of army staff is from Borno. The chief of air staff, though he's not from Borno, but he's married to a Shua who is from Borno, and he has also spent about 15 years, he spent about 15 years of his life in Maiduguri. Now, having all these people, one would expect them to work together to ensure this war, is brought to an end. But unfortunately, these men who are supposed to be president's men, some of them, especially within the presidency, are also fighting to undermine themselves. And when you don't have synergy, you discover that you will not be able to achieve your aim. You will not be able to achieve your target.
Perhaps this is why people are asking that an overhaul of security chiefs.
We have called for it here before. I recall even last year, but from the president's body language, and apart from even his body language, the most recent interview he granted, he has said it clearly that he's not willing to change his service chiefs. Ordinarily, one would have expected that perhaps if we have new hands there, those ones may come with a new idea, but the commander-in-chief has told you clearly that he's not willing to change them. And so perhaps we'll go with what we have for now and pray that they take charge of the situation once and for all.
All right, Jide. Of course, obviously, the army, the security operatives took charge of the operation and are saying that they have taken control of the
No, they are actually not telling us they've taken control. But we know that they've taken control. they didn't tell us that they lost Baga in the first place. So it's not possible for them to now come out and say we have retaken Baga. But we know, because we've been following what's been happening. Some people will ask all kinds of questions. But where you have 3 arms of the armed forces, you know, working in the same area, it is not the army alone that can provide information, except for lazy journalists. It's not the army alone. Even residents of those areas, when they come into town, you can see terrified people running away. Eyewitness accounts. That's how some people got to know that Baga was in the hands of Boko Haram. Before Boko Haram actually released that video, where you saw them driving their gun trucks, and some of them were even patching tires inside the military base in Baga. So, but the truth is, we appreciate the industry of our soldiers, we appreciate their sacrifice. And they've risen to the occasion again by retaking this critical military base, you know, from Boko Haram. Yes, mistakes had been made. Because before now, while I was in Maiduguri, Baga was attacked, but we repelled them. By the time they got back, they succeeded.
Couldn't respond.
So what the strategy of the enemy is to first attack the small military bases around the big military formation. That's what they've done around Damasak, done in other areas. So once they've attacked these little bases, they will now come for the bigger military formation. And our men and women in the armed forces must be aware that this is a strategy, because they've done it, and we've seen clearly that some of our military bases have literally even been wound up because of constant attack by these guys, especially in Borno North. So, but we are seeing some level of seriousness, because for Boko Haram to come close to Maiduguri, going to that, I know, you sense that there is danger.
Yeah.
And I was happy when the military decided to close the Maiduguri Gubio road, just to be able to ensure that they slow down the advance of these guys. The same, even the Maiduguri Damaturu road, they also closed. And they did the kind of covert operation just to be able to identify these guys and serve them justice. So it gives me hope. The areas where we have problems, like the Alagarno forest, very thick forest, you know, around the Damboa area. Because Damboa is a big problem for the army because of the thick forest in that area. The Damboa Maiduguri Biu highway is the most dangerous in Nigeria, up till tomorrow, you know. So people who are living in Biu, they have to go through Yobe State. For a journey of a few hours, you first go to Yobe State to get to your hometown, because that area is not secure. We must keep working hard to keep that area secure, flush out these undesirable elements so that our people can have peace. We cannot continue to live with the threat that Boko Haram constitutes. And that's why I've been asking that the president should sufficiently arm the army. It's not, when people say, oh, why don't they use the weapons that they have? MRAP, big armies of the world, are recognized for the quality of the weapons that they have. When you have anti-mines, then your troops will be safe.
If you could quickly hold the thought, we have SULE on the line, calling from KANO. Welcome to the show. Go ahead with your contribution.
Thank you very much, and Happy New Year.
Same to you.
You see, I am happy that Babajide was able to make it to the battlefield. I hope the Nigerian Air Force is not trying to take you away from journalism. Anyway, on a serious note, I just want Babajide to please do a kind job to Nigerians. You've been to this area. You have deep knowledge about this issue of insurgency. And the Nigerian Army has fought rebellion in Liberia, in Sierra Leone and has also fought in Gambia excellently well. These are more organized groups than even the Boko Haram. So please, even if your discovery is not something that you will share on air, please, could you please put your findings so that the Nigerian military could take a clue from what you have discovered? Because I can't understand how we cannot defeat these so-called insurgents. If we are able to do well in Liberia, in Sierra Leone, in other places, why can't we defeat this? Please, is there any economic or political angle to this issue? Are you able to find out something about these two items? If you are, please, even if it is not for public consumption, can you please make it? Write a memo to the Nigerian military.
All right, thank you, Sule.
Are my findings, so that at least we can have peace in this country.
Thank you. Thank you for your contribution.
The truth is, the Nigerian army is not as strong as the years when we fought in Liberia. Because of people who are interested in regime change, they scaled down the number of troops that we had. Equipment got cannibalized. If I remember interviewing Marshal Lisa Doku, and he was telling me how deliberately the Air Force was crippled because they saw the Air Force as a threat after the first coup against Babangida late in 1985, which eventually, for which General Varsa and some Air Force officers were executed. So we reduced the army because Babangida felt that you do not need a large army in peacetime. So today we do not have the troop strength that we used to have. Some of the weapons that we had back then, we no longer have. You can imagine a country like Chad that we used to harass. Chad today is rated among the 10 best air force in Africa. Nigeria does not even number amongst the best air force in Africa. Egypt and Morocco, they have more F-16s than the Nigerian, all the aircraft that the Nigerian Air Force has. So when you compare what happened in Liberia, we had forests in which trees were as tall as 40 meters, yet our soldiers excelled. But you can't compare that era with now. If you check, I think it was Colonel Sani Saleh, who used to represent Kaduna Central in the Senate. Saleh, that he said at a public hearing that the army was deliberately weakened by people who wanted to sustain themselves in power. And he said that even trainings that soldiers used to have, that those trainings were stopped. These were the measures that weakened the army, made the army not as strong as it used to be. Now we are struggling, you know, to get back to where we used to be.
We need to strengthen them because we have a war.
Yes, now we were not expecting this kind of war to happen. Now we have this kind of war. We don't have the kind of weapons that we need. We don't have the troop strength that we need. Because, as I've said, we have never put up to 40,000 troops in the whole of the Northeast. So the enemy sometimes outnumber our troops, carrying the same weapons that they are carrying. So sometimes when we take actions, we must think of the future. All countries of the world, Uganda and the rest of them, their armies are well armed. They don't use the kind of weapons that we still use.
But we need to move from the past. We need to move forward.
That is the thing. For me, when people say we need to suggest, I suggested to the Chief of Army Staff when I met him in Maiduguri, and he accepted. He thanked me. I offer suggestions that why don't you do these big armies of the world have an aviation wing, which is called Army Aviation.
Thanks for joining us. After much wait and high expectations, the last leg of the 2019 general election has been concluded with the inauguration of the 9th National Assembly. The ceremony in Abuja was preceded by the election of the number 3 and number 4 citizens for the country by the lawmakers. In the red chambers, Senator Ahmed Lawan from Yobe State emerged as the new Senate president. Senator Lawan polled 79 votes against a paltry 28 scored by his opponents, Senator Ali NDUME, to land the plum job. Also, Delta Senator Ovi Omo Agege defeated Ike Kurimadu to become the new Deputy Senate President. It appears the governing All Progressive Congress, APC, played its card well. This time, meanwhile, let us hear what Babajide and some other analysts predicted regarding the election on the 27th of May.
The contest is even more difficult in the House of Reps,
Right.
Where clearly Baga has refused to back down. They continue to say, oh, the North Central has never produced a Speaker of the House of Reps, but the North Central has produced a Senate President a number of times. So it's tougher for GBAJABIAMILA, in my view, than LAWAN. For the Senate, all that LAWAN needs to do is to continue to work on the PDP members. I think that a lot more PDP members will be interested in working for LAWAN than they will be interested in working for NDUME. Because for LAWAN, it's much more pliable for the two sets of lawmakers. Unlike NDUME, once NDUME makes up his mind that this is where he's going, it's difficult to get him to change his mind. So, and these PDP lawmakers who have worked with both men, it's not a difficult decision to take, you know. So I think that LAWAN will get it.
And initially, GBAJABIAMILA was having some challenges, but in recent times, he appears to have gained some grounds. For me, I think LAWAN will even have more a challenge making it than GBAJABIAMILA, and these are my reasons. Ahmed Lawan and NDUME, the race is between the two of them, and the president and PDP, for me, appear to be those that hold the ace. What do I mean? 51 senators may have signed for LAWAN in APC, assuming, without considering that it is correct. Those 51 senators will only vote for LAWAN if Mr. President comes out to say so, to address them and say, look, this is my candidate. But if that does not happen before June 11, I tell you that those 51, all of them will not vote for LAWAN. That is one. Two, PDP, wherever PDP goes, will also determine who carries the day. The only reason LAWAN can win the race is if there is no contest.
LAWAN, to me, appears to be more visible. And I think it appears to have network, in terms of networking across the country, far more than NDUME. And when you talk about support from geopolitical forces, you know, from the southwest, from northwest, those two areas, I think LAWAN, to me, appears to have an edge over any other contestant. In terms of GBAJABIAMILA, like you said, it's difficult to predict because GBAJABIAMILA appears to be more visible in the media, but that is not enough.
For those who want to go against the wish of the party, secret ballot is the way to go. So I believe that the House, if you do secret ballot, that's people will be able to freely choose their leaders. So I think that at the end of the day, the secret ballot would decide the thing. Since the PDP candidate is not likely to be on the ballot, the events of 2015 may not be replicated. I don't see that happening. So I wish them, the candidates, good luck, but I fancy the chances of Ahmed Lawan becoming the next Senate president.
On the program on Monday, Babajide reiterated that Senator Ahmed Lawan will win the election ahead of NDUME. Let's hear him again. What do you expect, and who do you expect to emerge?
I expect GBAJABIAMILA to win. I can project that GBAJABIAMILA will win on the basis of the energy that his campaign team has put into this process. People like Faleke, if you look at them now, they've lost weight. You know, they've lost weight, not the manner in which the IG lost weight. Yeah. But they've lost weight because they've been working day and night and hardly finding sleep. Fortune favors the daring. I'm confident that because they've invested so much energy into this project, that GBAJABIAMILA will win. As for Ahmed Lawan, from day one, I have fancied his chances of winning. I've predicted from the first day that Ahmed Lawan will win. Whatever happens, I'm not going to change my mind. I still believe that Ahmed Lawan will carry the day. In fact, it will be easier for Ahmed Lawan to win than for Femi GBAJABIAMILA to win. That has always been my position, and I'm not about to change.
Your predictions for both houses?
Certainly the candidates that have worked, you know, so hard. Visibly, we can see what they have been doing. I think it's most likely that they're going to emerge the winner. And I tip Lawan and GBAJABIAMILA. I'll be surprised if anything negative happens. Yeah.
So we are not expecting any upsets from both houses tomorrow.
No, it's not going to happen. An upset will not happen. This is not a contest. This is not the second leg of the Champions League match between Tottenham and Ajax. When Tottenham snatched defeat
between Liverpool and
at the last minute in the Amsterdam Arena. This is not Amsterdam Arena. It is the National Assembly of Nigeria. And the duo of Ahmed Lawan and Femi GBAJABIAMILA will carry the day.
That was our prediction yesterday, and we can say it for free that the new Senate President is Ahmed Lawan. And as we're talking to you, the process is ongoing in the House of Representatives right now to decide who is going to be the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives. Babajide, yesterday, as we left this place yesterday, the information came in that the People's Democratic Party, as a party, they've actually decided to support NDUME and Honorable Baga. I just read between the lines that it was a way to go against the establishment people, so-called within the All Progressive Congress. But apparently, this Ahmed Lawan and GBAJABIAMILA, they worked so hard to the extent that it wasn't effective by the results, by this result that I'm seeing, as in the directive of the People's Democratic Party, because out of 109, Senator Lawan pulled 79 votes. And if we are having 50-something senators from APC, that means some of these PDP guys actually voted for Ahmed Lawan, and he has 73% of the votes.
Clearly, a good number of them voted for Ahmed Lawan. By the time they had that meeting, the birds had flown. So it was a waste of time. And the question you need to ask those who are talking about the meeting is how many of the PDP senators were present at that meeting? Just ask anyone who was there. How many of the PDP senators were present at that meeting? Because a lot of them had committed to Lawan. They had committed to the project. And they were not going to change their mind at the last minute.
It was too late.
It was too late. By the time, it's just what they did is similar to what happened to the APC in 2015. They were more or less ball watching as it is said in football. While Bukola Saraki was moving from place to place, he went to the Sultan, saw the Sultan support. Bukola Saraki actually financed the campaigns of some of his colleagues. He was already positioning himself. He was spending money to get himself the plum job. By the time the party made up its mind, it was too late. And the party was warned by the former governor of KANO State that, look, you must move in quickly. Once people make up their minds, you are not going to get them to change. Because it happened even with Tambuwal. They had made up their minds. So by the time you started presenting Mulika, it was too late. So once people commit themselves in various ways, they have conscience. At least a good number of them have conscience. No matter how we view our politicians, a good number of them still have conscience. They may be people who are inherently bad, but a good number of them still have conscience. So at the end of the day, they decided to vote for the candidate who had been cultivating them for a long time. Whether people talk about the fact that, Bukola Saraki deceived people, some people were meeting somewhere. Whether that meeting held or not, he would still have won because he had the number to carry the day. So this is the thing. If they had moved fast then, Bukola Saraki would not have become president. I mean, Senate president. Look at what the PDP, they continue to vacillate. They didn't let the world know who they wanted to support. They wanted to do it at the last minute. You know, they wanted to do it at the last minute.
Strategy.
But
apparently backfired.
If they were students of history, prepared to learn from history, they will have seen that it didn't work with Tambuwal. It didn't work with Bukola Saraki. You don't leave it so late to begin to tell people, oh, well, this is our party. You will be guided accordingly. I looked at the statement from the PDP and I just began to laugh. Because at that time, even some of their own people were busy moving around with LAWAN at the last minute, when that meeting was even being held.
Dari, I'm looking at it, looking at the discourse credited to Ali NDUME, 28. Do you think it was worth it for Ali NDUME to have defiled his party and, you know, damn the consequence and come out with this kind of results?
Yeah, well, before now, I was of the opinion that if Ali NDUME was so sure he could upturn the table, it was within his rights and privilege as a party man to do what he was doing, while waiting that, of course, majority will have their way, and the party, if it is also strong enough in controlling its members, will have its desire coming to pass. Well, when I saw the result today, I felt pity for Ali NDUME. Pity because probably he also overrated himself. Because the outcome is showing that, assuming without conceding, that all APC members except Ali NDUME voted for LAWAN. LAWAN got almost 20 votes from the PDP. I mean, that shows that even within the PDP, that one would have thought was NDUME's backbone, he could not win a clear majority. And that shows that he miscalculated. It was not right from the onset in his interest to have done what he did, defying his party in the manner that reminds someone of 2015. Party leaders, chieftains, Nigerians alike, were seeing a repeat of what Bukola Saraki did in every step of Ali NDUME's. And I am sure not a good number of Nigerians were happy that we're going to see, or the government of Nigeria will go through what we went through from 2015 to 2019. However, one thing he probably did not see that we saw as a media practitioner was the fact that the PDP, right from the beginning of this contest ending today, was never united. The minister was talking about the decision being taken at the last minute. I also want to add that it probably was not the intention of PDP to delay the decision to the last. Rather, its inability to have its chieftain speak with one voice delayed decision. And you could see that from the various endorsements. PDP senators.
Even Wike came out to say they should support LAWAN.
LAWAN, before his last minute meeting. Yeah. Senator Nwabushi from Delta and others openly endorsed LAWAN. The national chairman of the party on many occasions was asked what the party would do, and he kept prevaricating. He was neither here nor there. this was the product of the inability of the party to bring its men to agree. And this happened because many of them saw the light in the sense that they realized that if we were not going to win, why dare these people this time? Shouldn't we just be amenable, curry their favor, see if we could get some good committee positions, and then find a way. And then some PDP chieftains too, both senators and non-senators, were already tired of the kind of opposition politics they played between 2015 and 2019. So all these factors
let me bring you
led to what we saw today.
Mayor, I was surprised when I saw the nomination for the Deputy Senate President. And from the blues, Ike Ekweremadu just emerged. As of yesterday, it wasn't even in the card that Ike Ekweremadu is going to contest. And Ike Ekweremadu contested against Ovio Omagege.
Yeah, I think the reason for that was because everybody wanted to be smart. It was not on the agenda for him to contest. It was Governor Gaya that wanted to run. Governor Gaya wanted to run for the Deputy Senate President. But apparently, even up to this morning, because I watched an interview this morning at the foyer of the National Assembly, where he said he was going to contest and that he has more experience than Omagege and all that. But what we have to acknowledge is that we may not like Oshiomhole's style in terms of language and how he relates to some members of his party. But we have to acknowledge his decisiveness. Very early, the party took a position, and they were, unlike 2015, they were able to convince the president to be part of that project. That is what made everything that happened on the floor today possible. Because if Goje had run against LAWAN, it would have been much more difficult than when Ali Ndume, if it's Ali Ndume, because Goje has enough clout within APC and will be able to sway a lot of the PDP people. So, and the party realized that, unlike before, like in 2015, when the president said, oh, I'm for everybody and nobody, and I can work with anybody, and he allowed things to fester. Now, people were able to convince him to say, look, we cannot go to this battle with Goje against us, with a divided house. We need somebody to be able to bring Goje into the mainstream of things. And immediately, it was the president that had that kind of clout and influence to be able to bring somebody as powerful as Goje to say, okay, I am stepping down and I'm supporting LAWAN. Immediately, Goje stepped down and supported LAWAN, Ali Ndume was just wasting his time. The party knew that Ali Ndume is no problem, so they didn't bother about him. They were trying to convince him to say he will step down and respect the party's decision and the president, but they knew that he will not get anywhere because they didn't give him the kind of attention they gave Goje, because they knew that Goje would be much more difficult than. So we have to commend the party that they've learned a lesson, because even Omagege, it was easy for Omagege, because if not that Ekweremadu decided to be smart, I don't know why he would think that on the floor of the Senate, people can change their minds and go, because he was trying to remind them of what happened during the problem of the maize snatching and all that.
Don't go away. It's still the Democracy Day special of Journalist Hangout.
When these kidnappings, because when it happens, they will now send details to Abba Kyari in Abuja. He will start looking for how to come and catch those people. Apart from Abba Kyari, it is only the RRS in Lagos that have a semblance of that. That's not how to run a police force. You must provide everything that they need. We can bash the army, we can bash the police as much as we want. But do they have the equipment to do the job? Even the army, when you talk about the army, they said they are going to change tactics. I heard the president talking about superior tactics. You can't have superior tactics when your army is static. The army is static because they do not have the kind of equipment that can give them an overwhelming superiority over the enemy. Replace the equipment that we have currently, because a lot of them are dead. So this is the thing. Equipment is key. In 2014, late 2014 to 2015, when we got the T-72 Russian tanks, it helped the army to move rapidly and take over all the towns that Boko Haram was occupying at that time, under the leadership of General Lamidi Adeosun. But today, what do we have? A lot of those equipment are even, they are not serviceable anymore. And it's the same problem that the police is facing. Give them equipment. You want the police to parade the east-west road without any vehicle. Police will be hiring rickety buses.
Yes.
For patrol.
Mr. Monijo, another angle to it, this insecurity thing is cultism. And yes, we have that in Lagos, Rivers, and some other southern states.
Well, to start with, it's not just Lagos. It's almost the whole of the southwest and parts of the south-south, as you said. And it's another major problem. You know, there was a time that in the Ikorodu side in Lagos, it's almost every day, you saw them, but freely they were operating. Sometimes they would even go to church and pick people up. It was that bad. It was as if you were operating in the failed states. It was as if the police were just helpless. And Lagos is much better because Lagos is investing in security. But even at that, you had that level of... So it shows that all of us, the government must put on the thinking cap, all the levels of government, all the tiers of government, and they have to get the people involved. The people must be at the center of intelligence so that they could move before those people. We should be a step ahead of them. If we are playing catch-up, we will not be able to get anywhere.
Can I have contribution from Wale Adeoye and Tony Waje? What's the microphone? Okay.
Okay. Well, I think I agree with the speakers on the issue of security. One thing I want to add is that when you are talking about kidnapping in the southwest and people are being kept in the forest, I don't think patrols, are enough to get to the root of this kidnapping. If we can employ area surveillance, because when people are being kept in the, deepest part of the forest, just mere walking on the road with police patrols and everything, we'll only be lucky if we are able to get one or two of them at a particular time. But because they operate in the deepest part of the forest, we need to employ another strategy which should involve area surveillance. Then I also think on the long run, we are not going to have effective policing as long as we have a centralized policing system. We need to decentralize the police so that community people, local people can be involved, because it's their life that is involved. So they also need to be participants. They need to be stakeholders, in terms of getting information and being involved in protecting their communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Tony?
The problem I have is I'm wondering why the president has refused to change the service chiefs. I have a problem with that. Since July 2015 till now, we're talking about the same thing. They're giving the same report. They meet practically like every 2 weeks. And I wonder what reports they give the president. Because we're not seeing that. We are not seeing this on the street. There must be empirical facts on ground. I mean, each time they meet the president, I wonder, what are the reports they give him? Because we're not seeing anything happening at all. People are being killed. Now it calls for an emergency, and I'm hearing from somewhere that the president is even trying to return these people. It's time to go. We are over 200 million in Nigeria, and we need more. We have capable people who can man our security networks. Not the same. Burata, of course, Burata has tried. The chief of naval staff, Air Force, maybe the police, I can say he can stay because he's still new. But the rest can go, for crying out loud. It's enough. We can keep, before it was Boko Haram, now we're talking about banditry. Kidnapping is now the order of day. We are sitting here today. We don't know what's going to be next tomorrow. It's scary. You want to travel, you're thinking of, if you can't afford to fly, you're going to drive on the road. It's annoying. I want the president to address this immediately. We must get this thing sorted.
I was told somebody is outside. Somebody outside wants to ask a question. Okay, let's have that.
Yes. My name is KANO.
Okay.
My question, can't we have community police and local police and decentralize the national police? I think that is the best solution for now, so that we, within ourselves, will know each other and we'll be able to know the stranger among us, especially when the kidnapping and all that is coming to Southwest. We are all fearing and we don't know what next. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I think it's the way to go.
It's a matter of amending the Constitution. It's not something that can be done by fiat. Last week, some online media outlets reported that the president had approved state police. And I said he lacks the power to approve state police because the Constitution has to be amended. The Constitution says clearly that there shall be one police. So until we find a way around that, until we get that portion of the Constitution
process of amending that Constitution is just...
We cannot have state police.
It's a rigid Constitution, so it takes time.
The process is tough.
But if we are
and that's why
committed to it,
governments
it is
over the years, you see, the thing at some point, let me tell you, if we even want to do it, we will fail. Just like the local government autonomy. In some states, you see clearly that some houses of assembly will not agree to let it happen.
The governors will tell them,
don't say they can't afford it.
Yes, they will say, no, it will divide the country and all that. You just see that it won't happen.
But I want to make this.
Okay. I want to take contribution from the audience here inside. Maybe Barrister Ayodro Daye.
I want to say something about the country and security. I think what Babajide said, he hit the nail on the head because we don't have any security. Because people are dying every day. And the idea of Boko Haram being defeated, we have not yet defeated them. We should stop deceiving ourselves. Enough is enough. Let us try and face the truth the way it is. Enough is enough. We have to try and go forward in Nigeria because the way it is, we are still going on the reverse. And we need to apply a solution.
Thank you. One more contribution again?
Good afternoon. Let me first of all thank the panel, the journalists here. For me, I think you are a very successful people that from economy to political to other areas of governance in Nigeria, we have the brain, the resources in this studio, in this station that can help Nigeria. I'm not kidding about it. What you have said so far is what they need. I'm not saying that you should go and join them and become part of them, but I'm saying that they can tap into what you have here and Nigeria will be good for it. On security,
thank you so much.
I think very seriously that.
Thank you.
Bring him.
I was told, my producer just told me that Senator Shehu Sani is in house. Thank you so much for coming, sir, and I'm sure he'll make his way into the studio. Thank you.
In the seat.
Please pass the microphone. We're talking about insecurity and how, Mr. President, how we can surmount the security challenges we have. The distinguished Senator, your contribution.
In fact, Brennan Gwari was his constituency.
Okay.
Well, when we're talking about insecurity, it's also dependent on the geopolitical zone that you come from. For example, in the northwestern part of Nigeria, it's about banditry and kidnapping, and in the northeast is the Boko Haram and ISWAP. And north central, apart from headsmen, you have ethno-religious crisis in states of Bauchi, Taraba, and Plateau states, and part of Kaduna state. So specifically for that of the northwest, things have been allowed over the years to degenerate to the very point that we have reached where we are today. And Zamfara became a breeding ground, and it has infected all states within that very zone. And it's reached a certain point that the banditry is moving away from, it started from castle rustling to banditry, and is also assuming an insurgent dimension, because the bandits now are also filming video clips with statements and also posting it on social media. So it's moving away. Yes, it's moving away from banditry to an insurgency. And also they will show leaders and also mimicking the way the Boko Haram used to do their things. They have also moved away now from kidnapping people for ransom to sending messages to villages that this is the amount of money you have to bring, if not, we are coming there. This is what it has become. So as of the North Central, where you have ethno-religious crisis and tribal problems, Jukun thieves, Hausas and Biroms in Plateau, and in southern Kaduna, Fulanis, the Adaras in Kajuru area, that's also a different issue. It needs a conflict resolution approach. Leaders who are presiding over the affairs of those places must demonstrate that they are leaders who will work and ensure equity and justice among people and treat them equitably. That's very important. As of the Northeast, when you talk of an insurgency and ISWAP is involved, then there are forces even outside of the country that control those people who are now involved in that. So the worst thing now is when you have a link between the Boko Haram and the bandits working together, we have a very big problem at hand. So the challenges of security in Nigeria today must be done in such a way that we must reconfigure our security architecture to address the realities of our nation.
I want to thank you so much, distinguished Senator Shehu Sani. The long and short story of it is that Akpabio, will he be required to resign as the minister to take part in this election in less than 90 days' time? Janet.
I think he should resign to take part in this election because, like the judgment said, he has failed to prove that the 61,000 votes that he claimed to have had, that he was not able to prove it. And this judgment goes to show that there is need to improve electoral integrity in our country. Because without electoral integrity, we can never achieve democratic development. The absence of violence, thuggery, hijacking of boxes constitutes electoral integrity, which did not happen in a Senodom local government area. So now there are mixed feelings in Akwa Ibom. Some people think it's favoring APC, some people think it's favoring PDP. But the truth is that there are winners and there are losers. And now Akpabio has to show that he will win with 38,000 margin to beat Chris Ekpenyong. Eserudum is his, don't mind the way I'm pronouncing it in my state, example with my intonation. Eserudum is his stronghold, is his local government. So his supporters are saying that the 38,000 is small, that he may even have 100,000 in the new one. But the supporters of Chris Ekpenyong, they have contrary views. But INEC, above all, he's saying that it had been vindicated because INEC alleged gross malpractice and fraudulent activities, even at the face of threat, intimidation, that the INEC officials did not play ball. And that the voters' demographic of 105,000 and above, I think he has a fraction of 555 on top, that the thing will be exposed now with this judgment, that they will see that before somebody was, just writing figures based on that voter demographics. But now, with what INEC has done, this judgment will expose that is not what is really on ground.
The entire accreditation was 19,000 on the day. And we are told that NDUME has a population of 105,000 people who collected, who are registered voters, 105 19,555. But on election day, only 19,000 persons were accredited. Yeah. I've always said that a lot of the figures you see are padded. If INEC sticks to the card reader, the electronic accreditation system, honestly, a lot of these huge figures that we see, we will no longer see, because a lot of the people that are on the register do not actually exist. This is the thing. And what the PDP, what they are saying in Akwa Ibom is that, look, it is in Akpabio's interest to not contest because he will be humiliated. He cannot win the election. He cannot surmount the 38,000 gap that this person has. Now, in the whole state, once they know that there is this election that is coming, the state will mobilize resources. They will go to NDUME. The governor will mobilize people, go to NDUME. They will go and face that election squarely with all the might that they've got. And they will be able to ensure that Akpabio doesn't win. Don't forget, even the local, I think the assembly election in his constituency was won by PDP. You know? So it is not as if he's so hugely popular in Akwa Ibom. I think the last election has already shown that. And if I were him, I will just stay where I am. I've been made a minister. My job, my ministry has been expanded with the coming of the Niger Delta, I mean the NNDC, with the merger of the NDDC. So I will stay where I am. I will not go and risk humiliation in the hands of these people, because 19,000 during the general election. If you were able to get 19,000 persons out during general election, off-season election, the turnout is usually low.
If Akpabio is going to confront this man, do you see him overturning this vote? One, and number two, do you see the All Progressive Congress putting up a good showing there? It's very difficult now to predict these things from the pattern we've seen last Saturday.
Akpabio and Chris Ekpenyong, they have both come a long way, and they are both strong men in Akwa Ibom politics. When Akpabio was the commissioner under attack, Chris Ekpenyong was the deputy commissioner. And Akpabio now became governor, but Chris Ekpenyong at that time, they've left office. So their paths had always crossed, and they all have their own strong supporters. At this election, anything can happen. However, I think Chris is more on ground. But the only thing is that NDUME is Akpabio's home. So maybe out of sympathy, maybe somehow his people may vote for him.
Can he get that 30-something thousand votes?
No.
From that place, I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so. But, you know, because of this disposition of...
You must get it and stop the other person from getting anything.
Yes, 38.
As you are getting your own, is getting more.
More.